Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. June is Dairy Month in Kansas. Our special guest, Stephanie Eckroat, Executive Director of Kansas Dairy. We'll talk about the importance that dairy farmers play in the sunflower state and also enjoying some great products like milk, cheese, and ice cream, especially on these hot days ahead of us. Also, reports from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Well, farmer sentiment improved slightly in May after falling sharply in both March and April. That according to the Purdue University CME Group Ag Economic Barometer. The index up 7 points from April to a reading of 103, but remained nearly 40% below its all-time high set back in February. The Ag Economic Barometer is based on responses from 400 U.S. agriculture producers. This month's survey was conducted between May 18th and 22nd. The index of current conditions improved in May, up 11 points from April to a reading of 83, as did the index of future expectations, up 4 points to 112. Now, in May, farmers were also a little more inclined to think now is a good time to make large investments in their farming operation. The Farm Capital Investment Index rose to a reading of 50. It was just 38 a month earlier. Now, collectively, all three of these indices improved in May, and each was down more than 30%, though, compared to February, as before the coronavirus impacted the markets. Well, the United Sorghum Checkoff Program announcing their selection of Leadership Class 5. It consists of 13 farmers from 5 states who have participated in an 18-month program. Now, several of those are from Kansas. Daniel Hopper from Leonardville, Deanna Lanier from Valley Center, Matt McCune from Plainville, Brant Peterson from Johnson, Brian Yunker from Spearville, and Kurt Zur from Quinter. And USDA has lowered its export forecast for fiscal year 2020. USDA's Economic Research Service says the COVID-19 outbreak has created a shock to the world economics that will cause unusual high levels of uncertainty for the foreseeable future. ERS projects the 2020 ag exports at $136.5 billion. That's down $3 billion from the February forecast, primarily due to reductions in bulk commodities. Projections for soybean exports reduced by $1.9 billion to $16.5 billion, due in part to a competitive Brazilian export market. Corn exports projected at $8 billion, down $0.5 billion, pressured by ample exportable supplies and weak domestic use for things like ethanol. And the forecast for wheat exports down $300 million to $6.1 billion. That forecast doesn't take into account the recent news that China was halting some purchases of U.S. ag products. You can find more ag news online anytime at agview.net. Stay with us. More in a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Well, joining us now is Stephanie Eckroat. She's Executive Director of Kansas Dairy, and we're going to spend our segments this week celebrating Kansas Dairy, as it is Dairy Month. So, Stephanie, I'm sure you always have a lot going on, and this will be no exception, but really kind of a time to pause and celebrate a very important part of Kansas agriculture.
Absolutely. Dairy farmers are excited about June, and we like to celebrate our dairy products, and working hard this month, doing some social media broadcasts to help promote and give people a more positive maybe attitude about the world in general. And you should eat dairy and eat ice cream. Delicious. It
is. We're going to talk about some of those things, but I want to remind folks about 5-6 weeks ago, we talked to a young producer, Justin Oldie, and some of the things that he's doing. And there are other of your dairy men and dairy women that have opened up their farms, and to really tell the story, make that connection, because unless you're really lactose intolerant, you like milk and those dairy products.
Absolutely. We've got lots of dairy farmers that are reaching out to their communities, especially with the current situation of America and the world. Just one example is the Rocky Road Holsteins out of Sabetha, Kansas. They worked with Midwest Dairy to get a cooler into their community assistance center, and the Kansas Dairy Commission and the Rockies are working together, and we're filling that cooler for the food pantry. And so we'll have a photo out about that next week, so I'm pretty excited about that. We're also traveling across the state this month. Just Thursday and Friday last week, I visited 11 dairy farms, and we got to take pictures with the dairy farmers. They showed me around their farms. They even did a little video for Farm Bureau to show what a robotic dairy machine looks like up close. So we're doing lots of things this month to help promote dairy and just give everybody a little more positive feeling about the world as it is today.
Well, Stephanie, we know that there's been challenges throughout production agriculture. The dairy industry has really been affected, and maybe the story hasn't been as big in Kansas as it has, say, in Wisconsin, but still Kansas dairy farmers need support, and they need us to utilize their product as well.
Right. Early on when COVID-19 came along, it was kind of the perfect storm for not only dairy farmers, but a lot of agriculturalists. But when restaurants shut down and schools shut down, we had all this milk, and we're not able to, just switch gears that quickly and bottle. And so there was some confusion with the consumers about, hey, why are you pouring milk down the drain? Well, milk is a perishable product, and it has to be used within a certain amount of time. You want it to be safe and healthy and fresh. And so we were forced in the state to do a little bit of disposal. I think that's kind of winding down now, and we're not seeing that as much. But the dairy farmers responded to that, and they actually cut back production a little bit, and were able to help stop some of that disposal going on. And they don't like to waste anything any more than anybody else does. And they're pretty creative. They came up with some different ways to do that. And so they've just done a great job. And cows have to be milked, and they're just plugging on and doing what they do the best way they can. And I have to commend them, because they are awesome agriculturalists, and so proud to be representing them.
Stephanie Eckroat with Kansas Dairy. It is Dairy Month throughout the state in June. Let's take a break. Come back with more in just a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
And our guest this week is Stephanie Eckroat to Kansas Dairy. It is Dairy Month in Kansas for the month of June. Stephanie, as we talked about, dairy farmers, there's things that have to be done. Maybe you can set aside some acres because of situations, but when you have a dairy cow that produces a product every day, those have to be handled. Those have to be taken care of. They have to be milked. They have to be fed. And with that, the federal government has kind of come in and tried to at least help, not only help the individual farmers, but that also helps individual communities. And so, and one thing we've noticed too, Stephanie, is that consumers are really taking an interest in only trying to find their food, but trying to make a connection with, I guess, for lack of a better term, a real farmer.
Yeah. There's been a lot of concern about our farmers. They see things on social media, or the consumers see that. And, there was a pretty significant drop in price for those products during this time. And so, but like I said earlier, dairy farmers, they do what they do, and they have to milk cows. And so they keep plugging along. But we're seeing kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. The USDA is offering some programs to help compensate for those losses on that milk, which it looks like it's going to be really good. So we're looking at a little over $6 a hundredweight for the farmers to get back for that lost milk. So that is looking very promising. And looking to the future, we're seeing some rise in milk prices over the next month or so. So cross our fingers and hope that everything plays out like they're saying. And hopefully our farmers will be doing much better by the end of summer.
Absolutely. And of course, this is grilling season. That means you grill that hamburger, you want to put a piece of cheese on it, and have some snacks or cheese curds, and wash it all down with a big glass of milk. What a better way to celebrate the industry, right?
Absolutely. Make sure you eat your ice cream and eat lots of it.
Well, that's the thing. And just to be prepared, next month is also ice cream month, so we'll probably have to do some more talking about that. But Stephanie, again, appreciate dairy farmers. Want to let folks know, what's going on here in Kansas, and also a chance to recognize and celebrate the Dairy Month. So sure appreciate you coming on.
Loved being here. Thank you.
Stephanie Eckroat with Kansas Dairy has been our guest. Stay with us. We'll have more in just a moment.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
So we're really excited that we have partnered to really bring a new light to the ethanol industry, and we've started a new campaign called KANSANS Fueling Kansas, and it's under the umbrella of the Kansas Corn Supported Fueled by Kansas initiative. That's a Facebook page that we have that is really the idea of getting ethanol information out to consumers. There's a lot of unknowns out there, and so it's the idea of answering questions for consumers and to helping support the ethanol industry as a big buyer of our Kansas corn. So this campaign with KANSANS Fueling Kansas is to really build off the idea that people really want to support local right now. And it's not just farmers that benefit from ethanol sales or ethanol plants, but it's a whole lot of folks in the supply chain across the state. And so we're working, the partner that's airing these on TV is out of Wichita, but we are covering a huge swath of the state to feature everyone. The first episode was a farmer, then we look at the trucking industry that hauls the grain to the ethanol plant, the plant that makes it, the retailers that are selling it. We also kind of give a stumped at the pump, how to understand what you see when you get to the pump, and really again featuring those individuals that because the ethanol industry in the state of Kansas, we can support them by just buying higher ethanol blends. Really focused on E15 as that's good for all vehicles 2001 and newer. So to find out more information, you can follow on our Facebook page at Fueled by Kansas or check out fueledbykansas.com.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
K-State Research and Extension hosted virtual wheat field days on May 27th and 28th. The first evening focused on how to choose varieties and took a look at 2020 wheat diseases. Romulo Lolato, Extension Wheat Specialist, said the combination of drought conditions and an April 13th freeze event have really hurt the wheat crop this year. However, with recent moisture over the past couple weeks, the potential of the crop could still result in decent yields. He then discussed traits to look for when choosing a wheat variety to plant. Some of these traits include regional adaptability, maturity, disease resistance, and production system. He also suggested that farmers should take a look at how a potential variety performed in local trials. Eric DeWolf, plant pathologist, gave an update on the diseases that the 2020 wheat crop is facing. Most importantly, stripe rust has emerged as a potential threat to our Kansas wheat crop. Farmers should be aware of what's going on and see which varieties are holding up to the stripe rust. DeWolf recommends selecting varieties to reduce disease risk. Not only should farmers try to pick varieties that are going to have a good yield record and other agronomic expectations, but also look for overall disease package. Priorities should be based on historical disease risk and special considerations for cropping system, such as crop rotation and fungicide use. The second evening featured updates from the K-State wheat breeders. You can watch the recordings at youtube.com/K-State Agronomy.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Okay, we want to take this opportunity to announce the endorsement of Dr. Roger Marshall for our U.S. Senate seat. But before we do that, I want to take just a moment, though, and talk about our Farm Bureau processes, how we arrive at this endorsement. And we have a great process in Kansas Farm Bureau that we rely on our grassroots, just like we do our regular policy. In this case, we have given all of our counties the opportunity to make recommendations to our state group. And then that state group, our state PAC group, our voters organized to elect Farm Bureau friends, then takes under advisements those recommendations from the counties, and then arrives at a recommendation into an endorsement. Our process was completed this morning or today, and we are proud to make that endorsement for Dr. Roger Marshall. And it was easy for us to come to that decision due to his prior history and what he's been able to do for us as he's represented us for 2 terms here in Washington, D.C.
Rich, thank you so much. I just couldn't be more honored by your endorsement. I know that with your endorsement comes your reputation. And to all the Kansas Farm Bureau members who did this, who made this possible, on behalf of all my family, thanks. Growing up in agriculture, you know, your reputation means everything to you. And all I can say is I'm not going to let you down. We're not going to be outworked. I'm going to make sure that Kansas has a voice also on the Senate Agriculture Committee as well. I'm just so honored to be here. And by the way, I'm practicing social isolation right now. I'm in Kismet, Kansas, and I wanted to make sure they had a good internet connection. So I stopped here to do this announcement, kind of running from Liberal to Dodge, trying to work on some of the COVID crisis. And I just want to just lift you all up today and just spread a message of hope that we can get through this together. I've got confidence in us. I know it's been tough times, but those pioneers before us, my farms, my family, both of them 100 years old or more, we can get through this as well. So God bless all of you. Rich, I'm honored to serve with you, and I can't wait to keep working with you on the Senate side. Thank you so much, and just God bless everybody.
Well, thank you, Dr. Marshall, for that. And again, it was easy for our group to come to that decision. And as you and I have worked together, and our Farm Bureaus worked together in our prior endorsements for you when you were in your present seat in the House. But in addition to that, you've done a tremendous job of reaching out to your constituents, our fellow people in agriculture and rural communities. So we'll look forward to our continued relationship and working to get you elevated to the U.S. Senate seat.
Thank you, Rich. We're going to do this together. God bless you all.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years. We're pleased to offer new health care coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
In response to a growing number of people searching for local and online meat sales, the Kansas Beef Council is creating a digital platform to directly connect consumers looking to purchase beef with those who produce it. The online Kansas Beef listing site also provides factual information on how cattle are raised. Although not all consumers will have the available income or freezer space to purchase a bundle, quarter, side, or whole beef, the Kansas Beef Council hopes this listing will be a valuable resource to those actively researching the option of purchasing their beef in this way. The new portal became available to the public June 1st and allows beef producers to share their contact information, including a website and social media platforms. The listing is free to Kansas beef producers and will be strategically targeted through Google ad campaigns to consumers searching for direct sales and online beef sources. The Kansas Beef Council is accepting submissions to be included in the directory. Kansas beef producers looking to add their operation to the listing can do so by going to www.kansasbeef.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families and rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Good morning. My name is Aaron with Paragon Ag and a division of KACO ISOM, and I'm here to talk about the cash grain markets. Corn basis is not terrible right now and could have the potential to improve for nearby bushels as the country continues to open up following the coronavirus. Ethanol plants are coming back online and are cautiously looking to purchase bushels for nearby delivery. Of course, we do have another crop in the ground now, and new crop basis is going to be watching the progress of that crop. As we're getting closer to the hotter months here in July and August, hot, dry weather could start playing a role. May 31st, USDA crop progress report had corn plantings at 93%, 4% above the 5-year average. The condition of the corn is shown to be at 74% good to excellent. There are interesting FOB values around the Midwest and could be worth looking into to get some basis set on your old crop corn. Bean basis has been fairly steady lately, and there are some interesting values available in the markets around Kansas City and to end users. China has ordered state-owned entities to halt purchases of U.S. soybeans, yet privately owned crushers have continued to make purchases. The July bean board is up over 22 cents from the low and could be an opportunity to get some old crop sold combined with a reasonable basis. The USDA crop progress report has beans planted at 75%, 7% above the 5-year average. The condition of the beans are currently at 70% good to excellent. Wheat harvest has begun in the southern states like Texas and Arkansas. Kansas buyers are willing to contract new crop bushels, but producers seem comfortable waiting until harvest gets closer to make sure they know what kind of wheat they have. Looking at protein spreads in KC, it looks like there may not be much for protein premiums available this summer unless tests come in early and show that there's no protein in the state. It is sounding like southern Kansas should be getting into test cuts and harvest within the next week to 10 days. The USDA has wheat at 51% good to excellent. If you have any questions or are looking help getting values for your grain or wanting other selling advice, please give us a shout at 888-452-8751.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us online, KansasAgReport.net, or on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Ken Rogers, looking forward to summer, but always praying for rain. We'll see you next week.